say you.
Yep.
Okay, Paul, everything ready?
Yep.
Martin, everything ready? You know
Yep.
about the turning everything. Okay,
Yep.
brilliant. Okay. Roll camera.
Rolling.
Action.
Sorry, can you take that again?
Sure.
My fault.
Okay.
Just it'd be nice to get that good.
Yeah, I think I was going to put too much pressure.
No, it's my fault, not yours.
Everybody ready?
Yep.
Roll camera.
Rolling.
Action.
With her deep blue eyes and the way that she sighs.
Camera.
Rolling.
Action.
With her deep blue eyes and the way that she sighs and her bright red lips and her shapely hips. I've seen her on the bus, I've heard her pay her fare upon a Friday night or on a Saturday. I wonder if she'd do the things I'd ask her to, or if she'd let me keep some of her underwear. Perhaps she'd let me sleep inside her scented hair or anywhere. I've seen her, I've seen her, and if I've ever seen forbidden fruit, I've seen her. The factory works late, the smoke it bellows black, the river rolls along. It's long forgotten me down in the darkened streets. I'm waiting in the gloom to ask her for a date, or will I hesitate to smell her toothpaste breath or kiss her lipstick pout? I would twist and shout. I've seen her, I've seen her, and if I've ever seen forbidden fruit, I've seen her. Sorry, I've cocked that up.
That's it, so we can go into a close-up there, can't we?
Sure, that's no problem.
And
Roll camera.
rolling.
Action.
The factory works late, the smoke it bellows black, the river rolls along. It's long forgotten me down in the darkened streets. I'm waiting in the gloom to ask her for a date, or will I hesitate to smell her toothpaste breath or kiss her lipstick pout? I would twist and shout. I've seen her, I've seen her, and if I've ever seen forbidden fruit, I've seen her. I call her names at night, they echo down the hall and in the evening air. They drift across, I'm sorry, I blew it again.
No worry, that's fine.
Go back to whenever you want.
Right,
Just keep, yeah.
right. Do I need to cue on?
Go on, action.
The factory works late, the smoke it bellows black, the river rolls along. It's long forgotten me down in the darkened streets. I'm waiting in the gloom to ask her for a date, or will I hesitate to smell her toothpaste breath or kiss her lipstick pout? I would twist and shout. I've seen her, I've seen her, and if I've ever seen forbidden fruit, I've seen her. I call her names at night, they echo down the hall and in the evening air. Sorry.
Don't worry, it's no problem for us, that's fine.
Should I just continue?
Yeah, do you want to go back a couple of lines or something?
Okay, I'll go back to the where they.
And then we'll just carry on. Okay, action.
I call her names at night. They echo down the hall and in the evening air. They drift across the town, they go into her room, and on her pillow land and tell those secret things. What I would do with her, perhaps she'd never know. Just how I'd love her so, may never know. I've seen her, I've seen her, and if I've ever seen forbidden fruit, I've seen her. With her deep blue eyes, and the way that she sighs, and her bright red lips, and her shapely hips.
Excellent. Cut.
Yes, probably.
Okay, second verse, please. Okay, roll camera.
Rolling.
Action.
The factory works late, the smoke it bellows black, the river rolls along. It's long forgotten me down in the darkened streets. So sorry.
Just
Don't
keep going.
Ask her for a date, or will I hesitate to smell her toothpaste breath, or kiss her lipstick pouch? I would twist and shout. I've seen her, I've seen her, and if I've ever seen forbidden fruit, I've seen her. The factory works late. Sang the wrong words. I call her names at night. They echo down the hall and in the evening air. They drift across the town, they blow into her room, and on her pillow land and tell those secret things. What I would do with her, perhaps she'd never know. Just how I'd love her so, may never know. I've seen her, I've seen. Okay, that's it.
Okay, keep
Right.
going.
Do you want to carry on?
Clean?
Yeah. If I go for the second verse.
From the
Yeah.
second verse again, right? The factory works late, the smoke it bellows black, the river rolls along. It's long forgotten me down in the darkened streets. I'm waiting in the gloom to ask her for a date, or will I hesitate to smell her toothpaste breath, or kiss her lipstick pouch? I would twist and shout. I've seen her, I've seen her. And if I've ever seen forbidden fruit, I've seen her. So I know that yes, on me. So.
Rolling.
Action.
Okay. Who was Ayn Rand?
Ayn Rand was a novelist philosopher who was born in Russia in 1905, and she decided at the age of 11 that she wanted to be a writer. And her particular interest in novel writing was that she would emphasize the romantic and the heroic style of the character, and show this as an inspiring thing, as an inspiring virtue in her writings. Born in Russia in 1905, she lived through the Russian Revolution, and she saw the principles of communism for what they were, not as they were supposed to be, and she rejected them instantly, as far as I understand. She decided to come to England first of all, and then she decided to go to America. When she got to America, she wanted to work in the movies. Oh, sorry, I'm way off.
That's good. No, that's good. That's good. It's excellent, Philip. Really, that's a great description there. I think that's good. Terrific.
You've read The Passion of Ayn Rand?
Of course.
Yeah. That's very good.
That's good. That's great. That's what we want to hear. I
Right,
mean, it's a human
Yeah.
interest. You know,
Yeah.
good.
So I'll just continue on this line.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, carry on.
And she. Whoa. Moment.
Do you want to just take it from she
Aye.
wanted to go to America,
Yeah.
take it from there and
Yeah.
work in
Right,
in
right.
the film industry or whatever?
I bet you've never worked with anybody as awkward as me.
No, don't worry, you're much better than most.
Right.
A lot of people we.
I've had that said before. Yes. So she wanted to go to America. Went to America in 1926. 5 years later, she was
Sorry, can I just think? Do you want Philip to look at camera or not?
Preferably not. Could you just look at
Right.
Martin?
I'll tell you, if Martin sits over there, I'll just stare over here. Otherwise, I don't like looking people in the eye when I
Yeah,
talk. Sort of
sure.
thing.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's just
You just that when he speaks to you
right.
later,
Okay.
you'll have to.
Well, I'll look over at the quotes and stuff and the.
that'll be fine.
Right,
yes,
yeah, so
yes.
I can move over.
It's
with
okay.
You know,
Right.
Yeah, why not?
So, should just start off.
Whenever you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she went to America in 1926, and she became involved in the filmmaking industry with Cecil B. DeMille. She started to formulate her philosophy of objectivism around this time, and along came, more or less, around the 1930s, her first novel, We the Living, which portrayed three young individualists struggling against the totalitarian state. This was set in Soviet Russia. Her next major work was called The Fountainhead, which was published in 1943, which dealt with the individualism of a rebellious young architect called Howard Rourke, who sought to establish his own style upon a largely collectivist audience, a largely collectivist public, and stood for the integrity of his own work against the large intolerance of the masses. And within this novel, The Fountainhead, she encompassed her philosophy of objectivism, which she developed further in her major novel, Atlas Shrugged, which was published in 1957. Atlas Shrugged was a major philosophic treatise encompassed within a novel. It's a fantastic book, over 1,000 pages, and encompasses her philosophy. I'm going off the track here.
No, that's good. Terrific. Brilliant.
In the early 1950s, Ayn Rand met Nathaniel Branden, and it was with Nathaniel Branden that her major work was done. Branden organised the Nathaniel Branden Institute, by which they formed a base to disseminate her intellectual ideas. Ayn Rand's fundamental philosophy of objectivism is based upon reason, rationality, individual rights, capitalism, and
That's right.
Right, I did this on the phone the other day for Forrest.
Yeah, Philip, you are looking over there, aren't you?
Right,
Right on the
yeah.
camera. Okay, great.
Yes.
Just tell me where you want me to go from.
Ayn Rand's
those
philosophy is
eyes
based
got-
on...
yeah, that's right. You've got those three, I think.
Right.
That's just about it, really,
Quite
isn't it?
useful.
Reason, rationality, independence. She emphasised reason because reason is the
Sorry,
faculty.
I think we should state that
Yes.
again.
Yeah,
So
I
you
think,
say if you go
Ayn Rand's
from
philosophy.
Ayn Rand's philosophy,
Yeah.
emphasised, and those points,
Yeah.
reason, capitalism, whatever.
Right. Ayn Rand's philosophy emphasised reason, rationality, individualism, capitalism. Reason, she meant the faculty by which we identify and integrate the material provided by our senses, such as our eyes, ears, taste, touch, etc., and by which we glean knowledge of the world and of the things around us. To emphasise this kind of point, she showed that faith, which is the basis of our culture, and we've of course had 2,500 years of religion pushed down our throats, reason is the opposite of faith. Faith is belief in the absence of evidence. Fundamentally, faith is a pack of lies. It's pretending that there's a God, pretending that there's some kind of supernatural dimension to the culture, or that reality is somehow dependent upon the viewpoints of others, or the viewpoints of some kind of supernatural elite. Ayn Rand's viewpoint went against this. She was a very strong atheist, and she showed that you cannot accept knowledge which you cannot prove cognitively, factually for yourself. And it's an essential part of her epistemology, her means of knowledge, that you must go by reason, reality, etc. Her viewpoint on individual rights, that each individual is an end in themselves, not the means to the ends of others. and that one exists neither sacrificing others to oneself nor oneself to others, is an essential part of her morality. Her morality was known as the virtue of selfishness. When I read the first page of the virtue of selfishness, it was almost like what could have been described as an earth-shattering experience. I learnt so much about the world from Ayn Rand, from that introductory page, and later from reading that book, and then struggling to get hold of her books in this country, which they're not available, or they weren't then. I think they may be now. And she goes into so many details about different things. Should one sacrifice one's life for others? And she would argue that unless that person was very important to you, that you shouldn't sacrifice your life for others. And that charity, issues such as charity, are side issues. They're not fundamental principles of life. They're side issues. And the most important moral principle in life is how to live your own life and fulfill yourself, and not to concern yourself with the social standards which are prevalent in any day or age. Nathaniel Brandon, who was working with her then, pointed out that this is an essential part of self-esteem, and that self-esteem derives from your sense of worth and from your cognitive ability to see reality as it is, not as others may say it is, but in clear, conscious focus. And this is very important if you want to have self-esteem, if you want to live a fulfilling life, to satisfy yourself. It's very important. Sorry, I'm not being very intellectual.
That's great. No, you're being excellent. That's very, very powerful and very good. Okay. What's the next question?
The next one is, what is objectivism and what are its main principles?
I think I've just answered
Yeah,
that.
I think
I've gone over that one.
What's the next one?
What is the relationship between objectivism and libertarianism and classical liberalism?
Right. So do you want to ask that again, or to have that on the air, or?
Oh, no, I will do it.
Got it, right, okay.
Okay. What is the relationship between objectivism and libertarianism and classical liberalism?
Well, classical liberalism was a formulating set of ideas. Libertarianism is a broad, general concept which is of our day and age. Objectivism is a specific, clearly defined philosophy. The official objectivist movement rejects libertarianism. However, the more rational approach to applying objectivism to reality would mean that you accept things for what they are, and you do not try to change reality to suit your own ends. Libertarianism is a broad school of pro-individual thinkers who accept capitalism, who many accept reason, very, very few accept mysticism, and accept a fundamental free market, pro-individual approach to life. And objectivism is one of many theories, probably I would argue the best theory, being biased. I would say it was the best theory, theoretical approach to the modern classical liberalism, which we call libertarianism.
Great. Thank you.
Of course, you'll disagree with that.
That's good. No, go on. Next.
Right.
How did you become attracted to objectivism?
Well, a friend of mine, I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who said, you shouldn't buy council houses. This Tory government shouldn't allow people to buy council houses. You see, he said, it's selfish. It's selfish. You shouldn't allow people to do things that are selfish. So I was trying to argue with him, and I got stuck over this selfish issue. I've always been taught that selfishness is wrong, that you shouldn't be selfish, etc., etc. So I went to the library and I found a copy of Ayn Rand's book, The Virtue of Selfishness. And within that book was all of the explanations why selfishness is totally misrepresented in our culture and why individual rights per se are being obliterated. And that there are certain organisations such as religion or socialism. Nowadays we've got social workers trying to destroy children's rights, with the old religious idea that children should be seen and not heard. Of course, communism reinterprets this, socialism reinterprets this, seeing that the individual should be seen and not heard, that only collective viewpoints should be put. With Ayn Rand, I found a clear, uplifting view of the world. It was very important to my personal development. I now feel that I was put in a claustrophobic, closed culture which did not tolerate certain views, the kind of viewpoints which could be seen as either rebellious or individualistic or rational or simply quiet and private, kind of shy viewpoint, a whole breadth of ideas which are seen as being unacceptable in the way that we live, the way that the culture or society is today. And I think that most of the collectivist, societal, religious, socialist views of our culture are nothing but evil, and they should be rejected under every single disguise that they put them in. I'm also an activist for Forest. When I started working for Forest, I'd heard so many rumours about passive smoking, and I used to believe that you could get cancer off another person's tobacco smoke. But since I looked into this for Forest, I discovered that the passive smoking argument was a pack of lies which was designed and invented as a device, a tactical device, to manipulate the public for the ideological ends of the anti-smoking activists. I think this is a very cynical move because it's seeking to create and manufacture a health scare to manipulate public opinion for the ends of those ideologues. I don't really see that it is right for taxpayers' money to go to the National Health Service, for the National Health Service then to put out propaganda which is not based upon reason, rationality, individual rights, or simply even to tell the truth. These people are lying, and they know that.
Great.
What is the objectivist view of ethics?
The objectivist view of ethics is that only individuals have rights, and that collectives as such have no rights other than the individual rights of their members, individual members, and that even the term individual rights is an old-fashioned idea. There are no other rights other than individual rights, and there's no one else to possess rights other than individuals.
Thank you. I presume this is how did you become involved with music?
Yeah. Sorry, what was that?
How did you become involved with music?
And it's not a longer question.
No, that's. Oh, and then the next one is how are objectivist and libertarian ideas reflected in your music?
Right, I have to
think. The two together.
Right. I have to think about this. Do you want to knock the camera off while I think?
Right.
I have.
Roll camera.
Rolling.
Action.
Okay. How did you become involved with music, and how are objectivist and libertarian ideas reflected in your music?
Well, a long time ago, I was very interested in lyrics, song lyrics. I think I was about 4 or 5 years old when I heard Bobby Darin on the radio singing Mac the Knife. And if you listen to the words of Mac the Knife and the way that he sings Mac the Knife, I think it's easy to see how a 4-year-old or 3-year-old or whatever I was then could confuse the "now that Mac is back in town" with approval to the murders that the Mac the Knife character, Mac Heath, had committed during the course of that song, the ballad that they were singing. And I was very interested in song lyrics from that point on. And then I think members of the family played the piano, played the guitar and different things, and I learned about playing the guitar and different things, and I played in different groups and stuff. But generally I've been very dissatisfied with the way that music is currently and the way things have been, in that they do not take into consideration the stylish lyrical delivery and clearly consciously written lyrics to point out essential aspects of the way that rational people live, and that there are very few song lyrics that emphasize the importance of the individual. There was a song out a few years ago, I can't remember the title of it, that went, I am what I am my own special creation. That was a really great one that emphasized that. There was a Jimmy Cliff number, You Can Get It If You Really Want. A few other little ones, but not really many. I think a lot of songs that go on about, there's a singer called Seal, I think he calls himself, who sings that solitary brother, is there not a part of you that wants to give? Which is a real mess of a set of ideas. I would counter that by saying, collectivistic moron, is there not a part of you that tries to think? I would counter that with that. I think that's a healthier set of ideas.
Excellent. Next question.
Great. Now this is the last question coming up. Now, did you say you're going to go straight
Into a song.
No, actually, can I ask another question? Actually, just
Right.
sort of leading on from what you just said. Just because obviously we're aiming largely at young people, and what would you say are the dominant ideology and values of the popular music industry worldwide?
Yeah.
And what would be your point of view on that?
Right. Now, this is carrying from what Ian Smedley said yesterday.
Okay.
Prime me on this, will you? Because I'm a bit jumbled. Do you have any ideas on this yourself? I would say
What?
that they were not that that the music business as such didn't have values, and that it was that.
Okay. Roll camera.
Rolling.
Action.
I think that the music business, the music press in particular, is run by a gang of very conformist people who try to disguise themselves as, in quotes, rebels, and they show their rebelliousness by calling Mrs. Thatcher names and by criticising the Conservative government and what have you. Ironically, the opposite is true. It's the Labour Party that presents conformity, that presents a grey, boring picture of the world, that have grey, dull collectivist values and hand out national insurance numbers and treat people as figures and things. And this whole idea of the state, I find a pretty evil one. I think that if a person wanted to opt out of paying the BBC television licence fee, for instance, I think that they should be free to do so, in so much as they didn't watch the BBC. If they wanted to not watch the BBC, they shouldn't be forced to pay for it. In the same way that if a person wanted to have private health care, they shouldn't be forced to pay for the National Health Service. And that the music business as such is a kind of trendy front in certain areas, which has hidden ideologues that have a hidden agenda. And I know many of my friends and libertarian acquaintances share this view. And I remember a few years ago the group Rush, who are very interested in Ayn Rand's philosophy, were labelled as fascists and as being right-wing for holding views that the individual is an end in themselves. Now, for the New Musical Express, I think it was, to put forward those views is just totally irresponsible. I mean, clearly they're showing that they have a hidden manifesto and that they want to misrepresent things, and they don't want a fair opposing view to theirs being put. They only want one side of things. They just want a collectivist view, a religious view, a modern equivalent of a religious viewpoint, and all of the stupid nonsense that goes along with it. The faith, the collectivism, the children should be seen and not heard, teenagers should be seen and not heard, individuals should be seen and not heard, capitalists should be seen and not heard, etc. The taxpayer should be seen and not heard, the taxpayer should be ripped off and not heard, etc., etc. And this kind of idea, I think, morally, is contemptible.
Great.
Thank you. Right. That's the last question. Do you want
Right.
to go straight into
Yeah,
the song
yeah,
after?
right. Just tune up.
Rolling.
Action.
What insights does objectivism give us into events such as the Newcastle riots?
Well, going by objectivism, going by reason, I would say that a lot of the popular interpretations of the Newcastle riots were grossly misrepresentational. They created the idea that the riots took place because of poverty or because of 1,001 reasons, but I think the real thing to look at was the crime that underlay it. I think that if you look at crime as being a form of Marxism, the criminals say, they've got it, we want it, so what's wrong with taking from them? Well, this is identical to the Marxist idea of the distribution of wealth. That from each according to ability, to each according to their need. Now, I've heard certain sociologists say that the riots in Newcastle occurred precisely because of the Thatcherite type of culture, which has led certain people to get on in the world and other people to be left behind. I think that it's important to show that this is a deliberate portrayal of things in certain terms, and that individualistic values as such are not determined by one's social position, that these are individualistic matters for people to decide for themselves, and that people, generally speaking, rational people, if they want to rid themselves of poverty, that they are free and volitional characters who can lift themselves up and get on with their own lives, irrespective of what jealous, envious types may think. Right.
Great.
Right. So shall I introduce this?
Yeah.
So, I know a lot of the viewpoints that I've had on this, I tried to write into a song, which was an affront. I tried to affront the kind of collectivist ideas of prying into other people's lives, which collectivism tries to portray, tries to promote, and tries to encourage in people. It is a sin to write this. It is a sin to read things that no others have read, and sing things no others have sung. When I grow rich, I shall be free from sneering voices nagging me. I'll dance. Can I start that again?
Sure.
Right. Sing things other people have not sung. I tried to write into a song a lot of my ideas about how collectivism seeks to destroy people and keep people down and in their place. It is a sin to sing this. It is a sin to sing things in a clear voice which no others have sung. When I grow rich, I shall be free from sneering voices nagging me. I'll dance a jig before I dine and feast with goblets filled with wine. Those vagrant freaks who tied my wrists will... Sorry, I've blown it.
Don't worry, don't worry.
Should I just go?
Should we
Sure.
start from the top in introduction?
Right.
Yeah. Are you rolling, Paul?
Yep.
Okay.
I tried to write into a song the type of ideas that are prevalent in places like Newcastle, which are heavily collectivized, and the kind of ideas which are taught, which are inculcated, are bred into people, which lead to a kind of collectivist, unified viewpoint, all at the expense of one's own life. It is a sin to sing this. It is a sin to sing things no others have sung, and to do so in a clear voice. When I grow rich, I shall be free from sneering voices nagging me. I'll dance a jig before I dine, and feast with goblets filled with wine. I think the guitar's out of tune, I'm sorry. Filled with wine.
Rolling.
I try to summarize in a song the kind of ideas that are prevalent in places like Newcastle, which seek to destroy the individual and absorb the individual into collectivist type of ideas. It is a sin to sing this. It is a sin to sing things no others have sung, and to do so in a clear voice. When I grow rich.
Action.
Hold on.
Roll camera.
And rolling.
Action.
I try to summarise in a song the kind of collectivist attitudes that were prevalent in Newcastle and the types of views which oppose these kind of collectivist ideas. It is a sin to sing this. It is a sin to sing things no others have sung, and to do so in a clear voice. When I grow rich, I shall be free from sneering voices nagging me. I'll dance a jig before I dine, and feast with goblets filled with wine. Those vagrant freaks who tied my wrists will be excluded from my lists. I'll not no more be forced to sip the endless slander from their lips. I've lived inside this town for years, and all I've had is jealous sneers. They're always listening at my door, and I won't take it anymore. They've opened all my letters true, and even read my diaries too. I'll go upstairs and pack my case, and then I'll spit right in their face. When I grow rich, I shall be free from sneering voices nagging me. I'll dance a jig before I dine, and feast with goblets filled with wine. But don't you wish upon a star, for dreams will never get you far. And I know quite a few I'll ditch, and I'll forget when I